What is up, guys? My name is Nathaniel. Now, I've spent the past 5 years growing on Instagram, but it wasn't until I met a few particular people that my growth started to really take off. People that worked at Instagram and Facebook, as well as getting instructed by people with tens of millions of followers. Now, most of this stuff you can't actually find just by browsing the internet. There's lots of articles and videos and all sorts of resources that teach you, quote unquote, how to grow, but are really not helpful. Usually, when going through it, I just find myself saying, really, no way. Use hashtags, great. It's nothing all that in depth and helpful. And today I'm going to be giving you some real secrets on how to make this thing possible and how to really grow your Instagram as a person or as a brand or as just a page. But the first thing before you grow is you have to have a clear direction. It's incredibly important to know exactly your direction. The reason being is if you don't know your direction, you won't actually end up anywhere. Even if you just want to grow, that's not a clear enough direction. It's very similar to, let's just say you wanted to make $1. You just wanted to make $1. Your idea might be that you could sell a glass of lemonade. But if you want to make $1 million, then the idea is to sell maybe a whole lemonade company. Now, the degree of the idea is incredibly different. However, the direction is the same where you want more money. So it's important to know how many followers you want because the mindset that's behind it will actually completely change and alter based on your destination. The next most important part about setting your goal is a timeline. The reason being is because the amount of time you place on your goal determines the amount of action you take in reaching your goal. For instance, if someone puts a gun to your head and says, I need $1 million in the next 10 years or else, you might say, well, okay. And you might execute some well thought out strategic business idea and take your time with it. But if someone says, I need $1 million within the next 3 days, you're going to take as much physical action as possible. You're not going to sleep. You might even rob a bank. I don't know what you're going to do, but you're going to take a whole lot of action. The same thing goes with your goals is no matter how many followers you're looking for, you need to set a date in which you want to complete it by. If you never set a date, you'll never reach a date. So you got to know it pretty in depth, as well as knowing what kind of followers you want, how old do you want them to be, what is the general gender of how you want them to be, what are their interests, and do they align with yours? Understanding these things helps define your direction and helps you achieve it quicker. It's very similar to wanting, let's just say pie. You want to eat some pie? Well, you'll never get pie unless you know what kind of pie you want. You'll stand there endlessly at the supermarket saying, do I want cherry or do I want boysenberry? But you will never eat the pie until on some level you make some of the decisions that are associated with getting pie, such as what kind, how much, what kind of ingredients are you baking or you're buying. All of these different factors play a role. So you have to decide a lot about the kind of audience you're looking to attract, as well as the size of the audience you're looking to attract, and the quantity of the audience you're looking to attract. Without a complete understanding of these metrics, you'll have a hard time reaching your goal. It's very similar to driving down a road, in which I remember one time I was driving from San Francisco to Los Angeles, and typically when you're driving down the 5, you can go at about 100 miles an hour, no problem. It's a straight road, it's flat everywhere. You can just drive so fast down that road. However, one time I was stuck going only 20 miles an hour, being guided by a semi. The reason being is because it was dark and it was foggy. Now, the fog brought down my speed, and it took me 5 times as long to reach my destination because I was going 20 miles an hour instead of 100. The same thing is when you're foggy with your mindset. If you're foggy about where you want to end up, then you will take 5 times as long to reach your destination. If you have a clear, concise idea of where you choose to arrive, you will get there 5 times faster. Now, being a little foggy minded is not that big of a deal if it's a quick decision, such as making pie. Instead of it taking 10 minutes and now takes an hour, is not a big problem. But something that typically takes a year or two now takes 5 to 10. Now, that's a big problem. That's a big portion of your life that you're now missing out on. So, step number 1, have a clear and concise goal. Know what it is you'd like and how you'd like to become and how you'd like to portray yourself on social media. You got to know what kind of audience you're looking to attract, how old they typically are, and their exact demographics. An amazing game to play to better understand your quote-unquote brand and how you'd like to brand yourself. The game goes, you say, if I were a blank, what would I be? Like if your brand were a ball, what kind of ball would it be? Would it be a basketball or a tennis ball? If it were a drink, what kind of drink would it be? If it were a piece of clothing, what kind of piece of clothing would it be? When you start to play this game, just in your head, you start to better understand who you are and your brand and the image you're looking to portray. And that will help you better understand the kind of content you're trying to create. So begin first, before diving into all of this, by understanding what kind of brand you'd like to create for yourself. And it's okay not to have all the answers. A lot of these things come with time. Some things that sound nice in your head sometimes aren't as nice in reality. So make adjustments as need be and as you grow and develop. But for now, at least try and come up with some form of goal, idea, and direction. That alone will help you reach your goal 5 times faster.